In this week's episode, I'm sharing all about my experience transitioning from 0 kids to 1 kid to 2 kids to 3 kids. Very fun conversation for me. And also, I am dishing and spilling the beans on whether or not we plan to have any more kids. Will there be a Miller baby number 4? And lots of other things in between. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Here you go. Everyone, welcome to this week's podcast episode. I hope you guys all had a really great week last week, and I hope you're gearing up for another wonderful week. I'm coming in you, or at you, I'm coming in. Don't worry, everybody, you're safe. Anyway, I'm coming at you, Hot Mess Express if you're watching the video, just because it's nap time, and I'm like, do you know what? We're just showing up. You guys are just gonna get me as you get me. So again, baby's sleeping beside me. Hopefully I don't wake him up. Hopefully he stays asleep for a little bit. I'm just having a nice tea this afternoon. Oh, it has been such a weird week. If you guys follow me on Instagram, I've been updating a little bit. My computer has just been having the worst issues. Like, I think it's just finally too much. I do too much on the computer. It's finally just like met its match. Cody, my husband, he builds computers. Like, he built all of our computers, and my hard drive is failing, I guess, or like one of my hard drives is failing. So basically I've been without a computer for like a week now, maybe more. And then he fixed it, and then I was and then it was fine for a little bit, and then now I'm back to nothing is working. Like, I can't even open my files. So to do last week's episode, I had to like lug his whole computer upstairs and hook it up to mine. Oh, it was complicated. I was really proud of myself though, because I plugged like an entire computer in by myself, and it's not my forte, so I was pretty proud of that. But it's been a bit of a week. However, in life, things are finally slowing down and chilling out. We just had our last, like our big year-end homeschool field trip earlier in the week. And so that kind of feels like a closing of the year. Like, it really, I didn't know if it would, but like after the fact now, later in the week, it just feels like, okay, we're done with school for the year. It's over. We have our facilitator meeting coming up. So where I live in Alberta, Canada. Wow. It would help if I could speak doing a podcast. We have a facilitator that, like, we pick a school board wherever we want, and we get assigned a facilitator, and they come and do a visit with you like twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall, to just go over things. You just share what you did over the year. It's really great. It helps kind of keep you on board, and they're absolutely, I think, just essential as a resource. They're so nice to have, because you can throw any questions at them, or if you're like, hey, I'm stuck on math, I don't know what to do this year for this, or next year for this, like this didn't work, do you have any recommendations? Like, that's what they're there for. So it's always really nice to see our facilitator. We've had the same facilitator for our entire homeschooling journey since we've been registered, so many years now. Yeah, it just feels nice. Like, I feel like I can finally take a exhale. And you know how sometimes just things go wrong at the right time? It doesn't feel like the right time. Like, I felt like, oh my goodness, my computer broke. How am I going to finish? Because right now, if you don't know, like YouTube, this podcast, all those things, that's my side income. So not being able to put up any content is like a pretty big deal for me. And then also, I'm in the middle of building a website for, I'm combining my birth work and my herbalism into like one website. I'm really excited for what that will eventually grow into. But yeah, I've had to stop doing all of those things. Sorry, somebody decided to mow their lawn. I really hope you can't hear that too much. I apologize. Yeah, it just felt like such a bad time with the computer breaking. And I'm like, how am I going to meet deadlines? How am I going to get this stuff done? And I feel like the universe was just like, hey, you need to step back and take a break. And then I was like, oh yeah, I had a baby 5 months ago. That's not very long. I need to chill out a little bit. And now that it's broken and like you can't work, you know, this is what I mean by what I meant by like sometimes the universe works for you when things go wrong. Like, because I can't do anything and it's completely out of my control, I've had to completely let go, and I've had to rest and fill the time where I would be working on those things with just like more restful things. And it has been the biggest blessing in disguise. I've been just hanging out with friends more. I've been connecting with my kids more. I've been taking time for myself. And it's been really, really lovely. Just like a slow afternoon tea in the garden, like being able to take moments like that. Oh, it has been so, so nice. And I think I really needed this break. So I'm not too panicked about the computer situation. Although Cody says that he should be able to get it done tonight. Again, I'm just gonna mention, like, I'm really sorry if all this background noise. It was silent, guys. It was silent. And now my bird is singing and the lawnmower is going, but whatever. We're gonna just truck through. I'll stop bringing it up so maybe you stop noticing it. Yeah, it's been like, it was a really, really crazy whirlwind of the past like month, I would say. I just felt like I had a little mental breakdown at one point, just a small one. I feel like I was just like really bit off more than I could chew, and I was starting to feel it. But then I kind of, it made me realign my priorities. It really made me decide what exactly was essential, what was immediate, because I have this issue, and I don't know, maybe if it's a bit of like perfectionism. I don't know. My whole chart is very like, ooh, you like to work and get things done. But I guess when I'm like, oh, I have an idea, this could be really great, I want to start working on it now. And my issue is, even if this is an idea that, okay, I'm going to start working on this and then I'll launch it in this many years even, it's something that my brain's like, no, you got to do this now. And I don't know, I almost like to-do list too much in my head. And then I end up like overstacking my workload and all of that. But I feel like with the homeschool stuff ending and wrapping up, it means I can relax a little bit more about our homeschool group that me and a couple other moms run. There's just a lot. It's been a lot, and it's been such a lovely break. So I feel like everybody I talk to has also been going through like a lot and just having a lot on their plates. I don't know if it's the season. I don't know if it's in the air. I don't know. It's been weird for people. There's some weird energies. I feel like we're definitely going on through a transition. Okay, so I just wanted to come on here and I just started rambling, but that's okay. That's kind of what this space is for. I just want to update you on my life and tell you guys a little bit more, give you guys a little bit more insight into what's going on with me. Today, I wanted to chat with you guys about transition. I've been asked a lot about the transition from like 2 to 3 kids. And I've been asked like what was easier, 1 or 2 or 3. I've been asked, you know, a lot of different questions within this kind of realm. And then of course I've been asked several times if we're having any more kids or what's going on there. So I thought I would sit down in a podcast and answer all of these things and just really take some space to talk, because I feel like I have a lot to say that I probably won't even cover in this entire podcast about this whole genre of topic. So let's just dive right in. What was harder for me, like 0 to 1 or 1 to 2 or 2 to 3? And I feel like you ask this to anybody and they're going to give you a different answer. And, you know, I haven't thought about this too much, but I just had the idea in my head right before I clicked record here, where I wonder if maybe you'll get a different answer depending on the age of mom. I feel like younger moms might have a harder time having lots of little ones at once, and older moms, not always, but like, I haven't thought this through a lot. I'm just blurting it out really. But I wonder if older moms maybe have a easier time because they've just more mom experience. There's just more chill in that stage of life. Like, I don't know if you've experienced this, maybe you're not there yet, but when I turned 30, it really like shed a huge layer of myself and I just became a lot more relaxed. I don't tolerate people's crap. I very much follow that motto, like, do no harm, but take no shit. And that's just like, it really just sunk much deeper than it was in my 20s, that saying. And I find that, I don't know, I'm just more chill. So I'm looking back to what my experience was. Obviously for me, 0 to 1 was the hardest because it's the biggest transition. You go from no children and not knowing what the heck you're doing to having a child. And then you kind of are already in kid mode after that. So I find the transitions after that are pretty easy. With that being said, I don't think I really found transitioning into motherhood to be very challenging for me, just because I wanted it so badly. And that sounds insane because I was only 18 when I was just at the end of my 18th year when I became a mom, but I wanted a baby so bad. I was so ready for this stage of my life. Part of it also, probably, I'm going to mention this a lot. If you've listened to the previous podcasts, then you know, like, I have a lot of childhood trauma. And I think I was just really, really ready to leave my youth behind and jump into adulthood. We got married at 18. And then, yeah, at the end of my 18th year, we welcomed our daughter. And I was so eager and so excited to have a child and to step into motherhood. And so that transition for me was just filled with like a lot of hard work, but a lot of joy. It didn't feel hard because I didn't want the other thing. I didn't want to do what all the other 18-year-olds were doing. I wasn't interested in anything like that. So I didn't feel like I was losing anything. I just felt like I was gaining. And I think that perspective really helps. 1 to 2 was a little bit more challenging for like a pocket of time. So there's a decent age gap between my first two. They are 3 years and 4 months apart. And I felt like there was a little bit of a transition just because my daughter had only known it being us. She had us all to herself. And although she could understand, and that made it easier because like we could talk to her and we were able to tell her like this is what it's going to be like when we have another baby, and you're going to have to like wait a little bit longer sometimes. And you know, she was able to mostly rationalize those things and understand them. She was also just like really advanced in her speech and understanding, so she was really good about that. But there was a transition where like I think it was more for me like, how do I balance 2 kids and mostly like the housework? How do I like do my normal like stay-at-home mom kind of duties while also having 2 kids? That was tough. So I feel like my house was such a mess for a long time. Like it was really hard for me to get my own shit together, and that transition was tough. But I don't think it was really like the kid transition. It was like the life transition that came with that. But again, I look back and I'm like, if I would have had more children then, it would have been so much more of a struggle than I think if, you know, I was right now like 30, well, in my 30s, I guess. I'm no longer just 30. But yeah, I feel like it would have been different. So I wonder, you'll have to let me know if you guys agree with this or if you think there might be something to this, where like when you're young and you know, when you're in your 20s, your brain is still technically developing and you're still just like figuring out life yourself. Having lots of little kids in your 20s, I think it's just that maybe it's harder than, maybe that's why some people can wait until like the kind of end of their childbearing years to start having babies. And then they, you know, it's very common nowadays to be in your like mid to late 30s and have, you know, 4 kids in 4 years or something. And they, yes, they seem frazzled, of course, but like they seem like they do decently with it. I don't know. I wonder if there's anything to that. But anyway, yeah. Now, fast forward, we have added on number 3, and it has been a seamless transition. I have found, again, 0 to 1 was way harder than anything else. And then, of course, like for me, 1 to 2, it was mostly just like me balancing, figuring out my schedule, really like what my responsibility load was and how to manage it. And now going to 3 kids, we are 5 months in, and the newborn days were a little bit tough. I don't know, tough is not the right word. it was a little bit like I don't know, I feel like I had to remember how much you needed to set aside everything in that season and just focus on the family, and that's it. That newborn baby, and that's it. Like everything has to be put down. And I think, yeah, so for us it was very seamless. It's been a very, very beautiful, seamless transition to go to 3. But I think it's important to remember that I have such a huge age gap now. So 3 years and 4 months between my first 2 kids, and now my oldest, there's 12 years between my third and my first, and there's 9 years, almost 9 years between my third and my second. So that's a huge age gap, and that makes all the difference. Like if I would have had 3 in 5 years or 3 in 7 years, like that would have been, or less, that would have been a different situation, I think. But because I have this huge age gap, it lends to both like different hardships or different challenges, and also a lot different eases. Is this a word? I don't know. Like easy, whatever, you know what I mean. So I think this time the biggest like lesson, or I don't find it challenging, but I have noticed, but I wonder if that's just like me in the state I'm in now at my age, like through so many years of yoga and breath work, I see things as more of like, oh, this is like, this is making me a little bit uncomfortable, and this is formulating growth. This is laying the foundation for more growth for myself. I don't really see it as like, oh my God, this is so hard. And so I wonder if that has something to do with my wording here. But the biggest, I guess, thing that I've noticed from going from 2 to 3 kids has been this starting over a little bit. Like, so because of my huge age gaps, we were already in big kid years, which is like, okay, so I feel like I have a lot to say on this. It's both made me so much more intentional, and it's made this third transition and this baby stage so magical. But it was definitely, it definitely was starting over. And see, I wasn't scared of the starting over because I wanted to start over so badly. But we were definitely in like big kid area now. We were done with the little years, and we'd been done for years with that kind of time. Like we didn't have diapers, we didn't have potties or anything like that. I say a lot of the time, so maybe not very many people who follow me or watch me know this, because I didn't really talk about it too much. I didn't share anything about it besides like talking in vlogs. But I ran a day home like 2 years ago now, for a year during, I don't know, the middle of the world being on fire. I ran a day home for a year. And I did that, one, just to make sure that we were just going to be extra comfortable in life, gearing up for the baby. I did it partly so we could help, Cody is the breadwinner in our family, help him so we could save for this surgery, because he had to fly to America, to Oklahoma. This baby, if you're new, I feel like I have a lot of background to give you. This baby is a vasectomy reversal baby. So Cody got a vasectomy when our second was only 8 months old. There's a whole playlist on my YouTube channel that you can check out about all of that. But we flew Cody from, Alberta, Canada to Oklahoma in the United States. And that's where he got his surgery. So I had started this day home, just for a lot of reasons, but a big part of it was to help save for the procedure, because at that point we didn't know how much it was going to cost. We were kind of thinking like, oh, this could be anywhere from like, at first it was like, oh, it's going to be like 10 grand, 20 grand. And then it ended up being a lot cheaper. And then we didn't know like the ballpark of how much the whole trip would end up costing. So I started this day home to help us save money and everything. And I feel like I could do a whole podcast about day homing. Oh, yeah, I have stories. But I'm grateful for that, because we were totally done. Like we were done diapers, we were done almost done car seats. We were done everything. No more strollers, no more lugging anything around. We could just leave the house. Our kids could, you know, stay home by themselves near the end there and like just be at home because my daughter could babysit, air quotes. If when they're that old, like my 8-year-old was like, you don't need to babysit me. So it's just like more watching over. But we had totally like moved on from the baby world, the little kid world. We were not in toddler years at all anymore or anything. So the biggest, like, I knew there would be such a big transition in starting over, and we were so excited to start over. Obviously, we went through all the trouble to like reverse the vasectomy so we could have another baby and all of that. But I think I knew it was one of those things where I wouldn't really understand it until I was in it. And it's definitely been true, where the habits I built as a mom of big independent kids who don't need me as much, who are off to different activities, you know, everything. We just had a very different lifestyle because there was no babies to accommodate for it. Like, you just have to do so much differently when you have young ones. And if you're only in this young season, just know like it gets very different when you're out of that. It's easier. It's so much easier in the logistic ways. It gets harder in the emotional development ways, but like it's easier logistically. So I find that that was kind of a big shift, and I'm still experiencing that now, where just going from this more independent state to back to like to starting over, it's been more of a challenge where I just realized that like, oh, I went really fast before. Go, go, go. I could run a million projects. I could have 3 jobs on the side, you know, entrepreneur heart here. I could run this and run that and volunteer for this and do this and manage YouTube easily and pump out, you know, 4 videos, 5 videos a week and do all these things. And I find myself still wanting to be in that mode, but then I can't because I just don't have the day I did before. I don't have the time that I did before, because now it's taken up with a baby, obviously. And so it's not a bad thing at all. Like, again, I'm so grateful and it is something I wanted and I want, and I'm so happy to be in this season. Like, I have so much gratitude, and I feel like all of the things that were hard about having babies don't feel hard for me right now, like mentally, because I'm just so grateful. Like, it was so hard to get here. I thought this would never happen. In Canada, the vasectomy reversal can be upwards of $20,000 and you have to pay out of pocket. Nothing is covered. And I was like, we're never going to be able to afford that on top of everything else, like our normal life. Like, we can't take away from our kids and take away from our normal life to be able to have another one like that. And so I thought it was just not an option. And that was such a heartbreaking, soul crushing thought and few years living with that idea, that now that he's here and we have another baby, I can't feel anything but gratitude. Like, I'm just amazed. I look at him and I'm like, how are we here and how did we get so lucky? And if I talk about it too long, I will absolutely cry. Anyway, the reason I mentioned the day home was I'm really grateful that we did that, because it kind of put me back into toddler years a little bit. Like, I am so grateful. I feel like we wouldn't be as like hit the ground running as we are if I wouldn't have done day home, because day home made me balance all the things. It made me be able to balance homeschooling, because I was homeschooling my older kids while I did a day home, while I did YouTube, while I still did all of my entrepreneur stuff, and during the day from, you know, 7 in the morning until 5 o'clock at night, I did day home. And I feel like it made all of us adjust easier, because it was almost like, how do I say this without sounding bad? Like, I don't want to put it in a bad way, but it almost like trained us to expect the worst. And not, I don't know, that's not the right way to say that, but when you're taking care of other people's kids and you have a bunch of kids and they're from different homes and it's not the way you parent, they're not parented your style, so they like have different reactions. Obviously they're different kids, right? And So it was almost like if we can handle that, then we can easily handle another baby. There we go. Does that make sense? Like, that's just what I mean by that. Like, it was much harder to run the day home than it, and we knew that going in, that it would be harder to run the day home than it would be to have another baby. But without that, I think it would have been more of a shock to our system. Like, we're used to just being able to head out the door in 2 seconds, and we knew that we'd have to go back. But again, we had this lifestyle kind of set in place. And having another baby changes that, right? It just does. So I think the day home was really, really helpful in preparing us. We kept some of the, the toys around and the stuff around, like, even in that way. Like, I had playpens and high chairs and all the stuff like that because we already ran the day home. So I just kept the stuff when I closed the day home. And so that made it easier. But yeah, I think honestly, that was harder, the whole going from big kids to a baby again, than it ever was going from 2 to 3, if that makes sense. And now that we're in this season, though, it seems like, okay, we can just do this now. Like, it's just us adapting to the season. And I have to remind myself, hey, you're in a different season. Now I have that perspective, though. Like, the kids are going to get older, and you know what it's like when they're older. And so it makes me cherish these little days even more, because I know how fast it goes, because I already lived through how fast it goes. And I already realized how fast you miss things. And, like, it's just so fast. But when you're in it, it can feel so slow. But it's just putting a new beautiful ring of appreciation on everything I do with our newest baby. So, and I think we all feel that. We all know how much richer our lives are now. Like, my big kids, they're like, oh, they almost every day they say, I'm so grateful that you had our little brother. Like, our life was good before, but it's so much better now. And that just makes me so happy to hear. If you hear little baby sounds, he has woken up beside me, but he might just hang out there. He's just in his crib and I'm on my bed, so he might hang out. So yeah, that big age gap, it made a big difference. And then there's this whole other layer to this where the age gap made having a baby easier. I'm not gonna, I have a lot of opinions, and I'm very passionate about older children helping too much with younger siblings. I think there's a very fine line, and I think a lot of parents can abuse it. Yeah, little baby coos. I definitely have some strong opinions there because, especially I think even more so because my oldest is a girl. I feel like the oldest daughter of a family, I think she can have so much pressure put on her, and then she ends up raising siblings and helping clean too much, and like just taking on too much of mom and dad's responsibilities get passed off onto the oldest daughter a lot of the time. And there's been a lot of studies and talks and stuff about this, and it's just something that really bugs me in life, but also in it was even in the assumptions when I was pregnant. Oh, this will be so easy for you. Thank goodness you have an older daughter. Like, oh, perfect. And I'm like, but why? She's not going to be doing any of the parenting. None of it. Like, she's not going to be taking care of anybody. She's just going to go be a kid because she's a kid. Ugh, I could go on about that. But anyway, it does make a difference because in spite of me saying all of that, they do help because they are just more helpful being older and they want to help. Like, they have chores that they do every day just as part of being in the family. Like, we all have our responsibilities. They have theirs, and just that weight alone taken off, that helps a lot. And it's just simple things. Like, I don't expect my kids to help with the baby at all. I constantly am reminding them, like, you don't have to help with him. If you would rather go play, if you want to do this, unless I desperately ask you for help, you really don't need to do anything. But they love him so much and they want to be around and they want to hold him and they want to help. So I always have volunteers. If I'm making a coffee in the morning, it's like, I'll hold him while you make that. And so I get to do it with 2 hands. And it's like, oh, I just need to do this thing really quick. And before, it would have been like some lopsided weird situation where I'm trying to juggle a baby and this, and I've got a kid being like, no, it's my turn. No, I want to take him. And so that has made things a lot easier, and this transition would not have been as easy if we didn't have that aspect. So I think that does, like, as much as without putting extra pressure on my big kids, it still is an enormous help, because when you're bringing the groceries, you can be like, hey, kids, grab some bags. Let's all take the groceries in. And before, if it's just you and a bunch of little kids, you're doing all of that. You're doing all of this work. So I think it can be underestimated. That's why I'm always saying, like, don't compare yourself and your like on Instagram and stuff like that. I'm like, don't ever compare what you can get done in a day versus what I can get done in a day, or what whoever else, but especially just from my platform and speaking from me. Don't compare yourself to me, because like likely you don't have, you know, a teenager. She's turning 13 this year. Oh my gosh. You don't have a teenager and you know, a 9-year-old to help you with things. And I do. And that makes such a big difference in the little small ways that really build up, right? So I think that's helped a lot. And also now I'm a very seasoned mother. Like I'm not like, obviously I haven't seen a child to adulthood yet, but we're gonna hit the teen years here this year, and I feel like I have a really good grasp on things. People are like, they hear I have a preteen daughter and they're like, ugh, good luck to you. And I'm like, it's been beautiful. It's been so amazing. I hate the stereotypes about teenagers. I think especially since we've been like consciously parenting since babyhood with her, we have such a different setup, a different layout, a different starting point than I've seen a lot of other parents in their teens, even just like her peers and stuff. And it comes from a place of beauty where now we're transitioning. Like this whole time I was her guide, and you know, at the beginning you're more their guide than their friend, and then you start to develop a friendship and you're a guide, and then that slowly builds. And as you embark into the teen years, you kind of switch over, and you still have to guide them. You still have to hold boundaries firm and like be a solid foundation for them, but it slips into a friendship more too. You have to like balance that friendship, and it's more of like you're turning into equals. And I think that's where people can struggle in that transition, but that's been such a beautiful gift, and it's given me so much perspective on, you know, starting over. So I feel like being a seasoned mom, that has really helped me, and it's definitely played into it. So again, when people ask me this question, I feel like it's a loaded question, like, oh, what was the hardest transition? Or how has the transition been from 1 to 2 to 3? For me, I'm like, it's been beautiful. It's been so healing. It's been just this amazing thing watching I think it's so good for my big kids to have a baby in the house, because they're learning things that they could have never learned without you know, without this experience. Most kids don't get the experience where they're 12 and their mom has another baby, unless you have like an enormous family and you're having like 6 to 10 or more kids. And that experience usually in most cases, they don't really get that. But I'm so grateful for that, because like I think it's amazing that my teenage daughter knows all the hard work that goes into a baby. So yes, she can appreciate what her life could look like with her first child one day in the future. But I think it also helps like the reality of like, ooh, let's not be a teen mom, or, you know, like I feel like that layer of reality and them being so close to what that looks like, I think that's also helpful, and it's so good for them, and it shows them a deeper level of responsibility. And I think it brings that family unit in tighter, because they're so protective over him, and they're protective over each other too. But you know, when your kids are older, they can kind of like, you know, they get differences. They can squabble sometimes, especially like I have a boy and a girl, so we're gonna start noticing I'm just gonna have to be more and more conscious of bringing them together as they go through their like super developmental years here. I'm missing the word for what I should say here, but yeah, they're formative years. Bringing them together with this baby is like, they're just fiercely protective, and it's like our family, our sibling set. They're like the three little amigos, and they're like, it brings the bigger ones home. They want to get home to like make sure they see the baby before he goes to bed and things like that. So I think that brings also an element that has been so beautiful. So I think if you're asking the question like, oh, how's it been? You're just going to get such different answers. And especially asking me this, I feel like I have a very different perspective than a lot of people might have. And so my answer is not going to probably be the same as you might get from, you know, somebody with adding a third and they have their oldest is 6, or, you know, somewhere around that age. It's a very different experience because I'm not going to experience having all my kids get out of that toddler age or the small years at the same time. And then, you know, like, okay, now we're parenting this chunk of childhood. Now we're parenting the teen years. Now we're parenting 3 adults or whatever, right? So I'm kind of like, I have a foot in all 3 worlds. I have a teen and I have a child in the middle of middle childhood. And then I have a baby, and eventually it'll be a toddler and a teen and a middle childhood. And so on one hand, it's such a big blessing, but it's also, well, it is a big blessing, and it's a blessing in that alone, but then it's also a blessing for my own growth, because I need to make sure that I'm present for my teenager. I need to make sure, because teenagers, they come in at night. They want to hang out with you at 10 p.m., 11 p.m. They'll squiggle into your bed, and they'll want to offload their entire day and their problems or anything they're worried about. Teens are like little night owls, so you have to be available during their time where like they are most open. And then middle childhood, they're all like, oh, watch me do this, mom. See me, see me, see me. And so you have to make sure you're available for those see me moments. And then when you have a small child, a baby or a toddler, they just need you there. They need your closeness. They need to be with you. They need to watch what you're doing. And so it is something that I am so excited to do, to have a foot in all 3 of these stages at once, but it is an enormous responsibility, and I take it very seriously because I know how much is riding on this. I know how easy it would be to neglect one of these deep emotional needs and the side of that need. Because kids are complex, right? They need much more than just some love and to be taken care of. So yeah, it's been a very big blessing in that way. And now, okay, let's get to the very big question that I've been getting a lot is, will I be having any more babies? Are we having any more children? Will there be a transition from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4? And the answer to that is, God, I hope so. I really hope so. I really thought that we were just going to be done at 3, but I will admit here in this space, you heard it here, I'm not done. Just if you have some space to just like send me a good thought, positive vibe, a prayer, whatever, so that we can have a 4th, that would be amazing, because that is really the factor. Zagreus, our 3rd baby, was an absolute miracle. The fact that he's here, Cody's vasectomy reversal almost failed. Very, very low counts. It took us 7 months to get pregnant, and we have no idea how we even got pregnant. But he's here, and he's an absolute miracle. And so if we should be so bold as to ask for a 4th, another miracle, that would be, I'm going to do it anyway. But yeah, we don't know if we can, and if we can, I really, really, really want to. There's some things. So getting a little bit like spiritual with you guys. When Zag was born, I thought I would feel really like, oh, our family is complete now. I was open to the idea, but I really didn't think I would want that, of having more kids. But he was born, and within the first week, I couldn't shake. It was literally, I have felt this pull every single time it was time to have another baby. Like, it's this soul pull. I just felt like my child was calling out to me, and like telling me to open, to get ready, to do whatever self-work I needed to do to be ready for them. And it's been this so distinct and so extremely strong every single time. And when Zag was born, within the first week, I was catching myself like grouping him together with a child that wasn't there yet. It was weird. Like I felt like he came in a pair. I felt like 3 and 4 were a set and 4 just wasn't here yet. Like not like twins that didn't happen, but like he just has a buddy. Like it just felt like, no, he comes with a person. And I've never been able to shake that feeling since, and it really like opened me up to being like, oh, I definitely want 4. Yep, 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom, our little like bookend sets. That sounds perfect. And so Cody at first was like, no, and then he's really come around to the idea. So we should be so blessed, we will have a 4th. It's funny though, because I have, maybe I'm opening up too much. We'll see. I have really only ever planned children. Our kids were all very distinctly planned and hoped for, and although this 4th baby is hoped for, it's one of those things where I kind of feel the really strong urge to just let it happen when it happens and to not get in the way of it. And on one hand, that scares me because I've never had a really close age gap before, and it very well could happen. But I just feel like we have a small chance of this even happening at all, and I don't want to get in the way of my shot at having a 4th, you know, like it's just been such a big blessing to have Zay come into our lives, and it's I could cry just thinking about the whole thing. But I would love to give him a little friend, because, and it's funny, my big kids are like, Mom, you gotta have one more, and you have to have one more. He needs a buddy. He needs like, because they're such a duo, they're such like it's, you know, it's Em and Gray together, like us against the world. And although they feel that way with him, he's so much younger that they can't wrestle with him. When he's 12, Mackenzie's gonna be moved out, and it's gonna be like Grayson almost, you know, at the end of his teen years. And they have realized that now, and they're like, it's not going to be the same. And I think that's maybe was Cody's kind of like what opened him up to the idea for, oh honey, I really try not to edit these, but then I just had to go grab him. He woke up and say, hi, we're talking about you. We are talking about you. We're talking about if you're going to be a big brother one day or not. Do you think maybe you should be a big brother one day? Does that sound good? Oh, I don't know what that means. Yeah, the big kids have been noticing though that like, it's just, and that's what I was gonna say. They've been noticing like, he's not gonna be able to wrestle with anybody or do these things that like they know that they're going to be more of a mentor to him than like a companion so close. And I think that's what opened Cody's like heart to the idea for more, was that the reality that like it's not going to be like we have 4 young kids, because we don't have 4 young kids at once. For a large chunk of like these two, see, I just did it right there. If we have a 4th, like it'll be like these two little ones, and we'll have these big ones, and then they'll start to move out, and then we'll just be left with these 2. We won't have 4 under the same roof for very long. And that both breaks my heart, but also like it's just the natural progression of things. And so it's gonna be different. Like I was reminding him when we were talking about it, and I was like, 4 for us isn't gonna look like 4 for somebody else because of our big age gap. And so it's really gonna be almost like 2 and 2. And so anyways, the answer to that question is yes, we really hope so. If we have another 4 will be it for us. Like it has to be it for us. Poor Cody. But we're really, really hopeful, and I'm just like keeping it open and giving it up, giving it to the universe, trusting that it will happen when it's meant to happen, and just really, really hoping. I don't even want to go into the period of doubt. Like I don't even want him to go get tested to see if it has failed or scarred over or if we are okay. I just want to leave it and just live our life for a couple years. And if I'm not pregnant by then we can go look into things and see what happened, or if there's something that happened. But I just feel so strongly in my heart that we're not going to have to do that. It's the same feeling I had with him, that I just knew he was coming, and I knew that he would be with us. And even in like the hardest months of trying for him, I just, like, it was like the month that we decided to stop trying. And I just had this overwhelming sense of trust wash over me. And it's that same feeling. So I think that he has another little buddy out there who's gonna come to us. I just don't know when. Yeah. So yeah, there's the big question everybody really has been wanting me to answer. And some people might be surprised by that and some people might not. But it is on my heart completely because honestly, we're already in baby years. We're in the baby season right now. We're here. What's one more? And I feel like that age gap thing where I would have been much more scared to have kids closer together before, and now it doesn't scare me because I'm a seasoned mom. I know what I'm doing. I have a little bit of help when I desperately do need it. It's just a different dynamic now and it doesn't feel as hard. And so although I know it will be challenging in its own way, I hope that they are a little bit actually closer, him and his next sibling, than my first two in age. I hope that it's, sooner than 3 years apart. But we'll take whatever we can get, right? I don't know. I'm just excited about it. I really don't have any fear, especially now. I did have some fear because I'm like, oh my goodness, what if I had like kids that were 9 months apart? That would be terrifying. But that's not happening now. We're past that point, so I think we're okay. But there's the big question. The big question. I wanted to sit down and answer this with you, and I really just wanted to have a space to really talk about the potential for a fourth and my thoughts on that. Again, I didn't share everything, obviously, but it is a really like spiritual, deep, soul-filled decision for me. Like, it wasn't like, oh, that sounds good, and he just needs a friend to play with, so we're gonna have another baby. Like, it really has been this pull, and I know that there's another little Miller out there for us. So I'm hoping that they find us soon. Well, maybe not crazy soon, but also I'm just like, I'm not gonna try and control it. I'm gonna try really hard not to control this one and to just experience. I've experienced the trying and being very, very involved, and I just want to try and let life happen when it happens this time. Yeah, are you ready for some milk? Okay. Oh, did you have a good nap? Just talking to the sweet baby. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for watching or listening, watching, whichever one you did today. I hope you have a beautiful week ahead. Let me know in the comments what your transitions were like. If you have more than one kid, talk to me about whatever you want to chat with me about. If you guys if I said something that sparked something in you and you want to chat about it, please let's chat about it down below. For other moms who are listening, if you want to share your experience going from whatever, 0 to 1, like however many kids you have, feel free to share that down below. I think that's such good insight for people. And it can really help people make decisions on their family planning. So yeah, I'm excited to hear from you guys. And yeah, we will see you next week for our next episode. Very excited about that one. So make sure you tune in. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful week ahead. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to like, share, and leave a comment. You've been listening to So Your Mom's a Hippie with Rainbow Miller. I'll see you next week.